Welcome to Codex, a history of video games. My name is Tyler Osby.
And I'm Mike Coletta.
And you may notice that we're not stepping over each other when we do the intro because we're in the same room together.
We're in the same room together right now. It's amazing.
So great.
I came down to Los Angeles to visit.
All right. And we're going to get some podcast recording in.
I like how we said, we're not going to interrupt each other, and then I immediately almost interrupted you.
Yeah, well, it's going to be at least a little bit less Discordy.
Yeah, that's true. And that would mean that now you know if we interrupt each other, it's entirely our faults.
Yes, it's intentional.
Yeah, that's right. So today is
It's your big day.
It's my big day.
Yeah.
Today we're going to start part 1 of the history of Pokemon. And a couple things to note about this, okay? We're going to do the video games only.
Mm-hmm.
Not talking cards.
Not yet.
Not talking plushies.
Not yet.
Yeah, it's true. All these are not yet. If you want me to do all that stuff, that would be an entire podcast by itself. So we're not doing that.
Not yet.
We're going to start with some numbers. So, including spin-off games, and this was taken from November 24th, 2017 by holesgames.com, WHOLES game.com. More than 300 million Pokemon games have been sold worldwide on handheld and home consoles across 76 titles.
That's billions of Pokemon caught.
That's so many Pokemon.
Wow.
I think people really did catch them all. That's what we're learning.
Yeah.
What's even more bananas, Pokemon Go, popular cell phone game, which I'm going to talk about in the third part of this series.
Not yet.
Not yet. Yeah, it's true. 1 billion downloads. Billion.
Whoa.
With a B, as in 1/7 the world population.
Has downloaded Pokemon Go.
Downloaded Pokemon Go.
That's incredible.
Pokemon's core series has 8 generations, and I'm going to go through the first 4 today, and then the next part will be generations 5 through 8, and then the third part will be non-core games in the series. So that's when we're going to talk about Pokemon Go, or Mystery Dungeon, or
Ranger.
Pinball, or Ranger.
Pokemon trading card game.
There's so many. Also, Tyler, it's now story time. Are you ready for story time?
Yeah, tell me a story.
Okay, here we go. Satoshi Tajiri was born on August 28th, 1965 in Tokyo and grew up in a suburb called Mashida. I think that's how you say that, right? Machida. Important thing to know about Mashida is while it's part of Tokyo, it was pretty rural at the time he was born, okay? There were a lot of rice paddies and ponds and stuff. And that helped shape Tajiri's childhood and later his work in video games. His main hobby as a boy was collecting insects.
I think I see where this is going.
Yeah, you do see where it's going. He loved collecting insects, and the other children called him Dr. Bug.
They didn't call him Bug Catcher?
No, I wish they called
Bug Catcher
him
Satoshi?
Yeah. You've been challenged by Bug Catcher Satoshi. So he actually wanted to be an entomologist before he...
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. So here's a Time Magazine interview, and I'm going to quote a lot of these. This interview specifically...
Wait, who is Satoshi Tajiri?
He is the creator of Pokemon.
Okay.
Yeah, I was getting there.
Oh, sorry.
I'm trying to build a moment, Tyler. Oh, I'm just kidding.
It's not yet.
What if I just start talking about a random guy that has nothing to do with Pokemon? All right, that was the biography of that guy. Okay, next. So this is from a Time Magazine article called The Ultimate Game Freak, and it was published on November 22nd, 1999 in Time Magazine. And this is Tajiri talking about bugs. Quote, "They fascinated me. For one thing, they kind of moved funny. They were odd. Every time I found a new insect, it was mysterious to me. And more I searched for insects, the more I found. If I put my hand in the river, I would get a crayfish. If there was a stick over a hole, it would create an air bubble, and I'd find insects there. I usually took them home. As I gathered more and more, I'd learn about them, like how some would feed on one another, so I stopped bringing them home. But I liked coming up with new ideas, like how to catch beetles." Foreshadowing. In Japan, a lot of kids like to go out and catch beetles by putting honey on a piece of tree bark. My idea was to put a stone under a tree because they slept during the day and liked sleeping under stones. So in the morning, I'd go pick up a stone and find them. Tiny discoveries like that made me excited. End quote. You see, it's just it's like his whole childhood was shaping towards this moment.
It's all a build-up.
It's all a build-up. So it's like, of course, this is the guy that created Pokemon. Now, Mashida, while rural, was growing. And in that same interview, Tajiri mentions how a pond one week would become like an arcade the next week. So over the course of his childhood, he watched Tokyo become like an urban sprawl that took away the rural nature of Tokyo. So this led him to wanting to design games that allowed children to have the feeling of bug collecting like he had as a child.
Oh, so he's like, oh, these kids these days living in the city, they don't know what it's like to collect bugs.
Exactly.
So I'm going to make a video game.
That's a lot like catching bugs.
Perfect.
But sometimes those bugs turn into fire dragon lizards.
Dang.
Yeah,
that's way cooler than bugs.
It's way cooler than bugs. So another big influence on Tajiri was anime. Specifically, in the show Ultraman, hi Toby, there were capsule monsters that Ultraman would use. So like monsters that would be in these little container things. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you know what? If that was an inspiration for Pokeballs, I don't know what is. So that was a thing. And then as a teenager, Tajiri became obsessed with arcade games. And a fun thing to note about his parents, though, is he thought he was like up to no good during this time. They thought he was like a delinquent because he was really into arcade games and he didn't care about going to college. He just liked video games. His favorite game was Taito's Space Invaders. It's a pretty good one. If you're going to pick a favorite arcade game, I think that's a good one. And his love of arcade games eventually turned him into creating ideas for his own games. And he took his Famicom apart to see how it worked. And also, there was a Sega-sponsored contest for video game ideas, and he submitted to it and won.
All right.
So, like,
was his idea Pokemon?
I don't think so. Okay. No, we're gonna get because it's kind of interesting because we're gonna get into when he starts making games, and it actually Pokemon. I thought Pokemon was his first one. It's not.
Oh, okay.
So I'll explain that later. But here's a quote from another 1999 Time magazine article by Howard Chua Owen, I think, and Tim Larimer titled "Beware of Pokemania." So this is a quote. Quote, in a nation of ultraconformists, he was a misfit who didn't even dream of college. His father tried to get him a job as an electrical utility repairman. He refused, but no one expected him to go very far, even when he came up with the game after 6 years. But it was Tajiri's obsessions, more dysfunctional than Disney-esque, that are at the core of the Pokemon phenomenon. His monsters are a child's predilections, as the late controversial child psychologist Bruno Bettelheim wrote, the monster a child knows best and is most concerned with is the monster he feels of or fears himself to be.
Ooh, wow.
That's a pretty heavy quote for a Pokemon podcast, right?
Yeah, it's
really heavy. The heavy hitting stuff. I really went all out. This is gonna be a long episode, team. Just everyone just
buckle up.
Buckle up. I hope you're on a long road trip right now. All right. So that was a really good cat dodge. Did you see that?
Yeah.
That was really smooth. Toby, podcast producer Cat, is walking on the table we're on, and he's really giving it his all.
Yeah. I'd shut the door to this room, but then Toby has a very strict no closed doors policy in this apartment.
Yeah, he just starts slapping it with his paws.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of, we don't have enough to hire engineers, so we have a bunch of animals. It's kind of like a Disney princess scenario, but for audio engineers. All right. So, because of his fascination with video games, Tajiri frequently cut classes and nearly did not graduate high school. His parents were confused and upset. And as stated in the quote I just said before, his father did try to get him a job at the Tokyo Electric Power Company, but Tajiri declined to take the position, which is interesting because I believe there's a power company in the first Pokemon games.
Yeah, there's a power plant. It's where Zapdos is.
Yeah, it's right. So it's kind of like you kind of see things in this history, like from his childhood, kind of go into his game. Mm-hmm. So, all right. He did get his high school diploma by taking makeup classes eventually, but he did not go to college. Instead, he attended a 2-year technical degree program at the Tokyo National College of Technology, where he majored in electronics and computer science. And boy, oh boy, am I glad he did that.
Yeah, because that would give him the skills he'd need to make some video games.
Yeah, also, he may not have gone to college, but going to a trade school is just as good. We're not here to education shame anyone.
No.
Okay, yeah, you go do what you got to do and do what you're interested in, do what you love. Signed, Tyler and Mike.
That's right.
All right. From 1981 to 1986, this is where we get into it. Mm-hmm. Tajiri wrote and edited a fanzine called Game Freak. Sound familiar? Mm-hmm. The magazine focused on arcade games, and here's the best part. The magazine was handwritten and stapled together.
Whoa.
So, and that Ken Sugimori, who illustrated the magazine, and by the way, this guy probably sounds familiar to you because he is the illustrator that designed the first 151 Pokemon. So it's
that distinctive art style. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Keeping it all in the Game Freak family. So he's the true hero of this story. That's what I'm trying to get at. He started working on the magazine after seeing it in a Dojin Shop. I believe that's how you pronounce that. Once again, this is a great episode of Mike Butcher's Japanese words. So sorry, everybody. Now, if you're like me and thought, what is a Dojin Shop? Also, is Mike pronouncing that correctly? Boy, do I have one of those answers for you. A Dojin Shop is a shop that only sells self-published works.
Oh.
It's just a Japanese thing. It's just a shop that sells self-published, which is really cool, I think. It's kind of like Amazon's electronic, you're an author and you can sell books on Kindle thing. But this was in the 80s. So...
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's really cool. So if you wanted to make your own magazine in Japan in the 80s, your sales options are pretty much through the roof. Like, you can just put them in the store. So this was a quote from Tajiri regarding Game Freak. Quote, "I was really into Space Invaders in about 1978. It got me more and more interested in video games. There wasn't any media to get information about games, so I came up with Game Freak, the magazine." End quote. Game Freak was truly for gaming fans. The magazine had tips on winning games, how to get high scores, and even listed Easter eggs for players to find. We're going to get into
Just
Easter
like
eggs.
Nintendo Power before Nintendo Power.
Exactly, for arcade games. So here's another quote from Tajiri. The biggest sales were for a special issue on the Zabius game. We sold 10,000 copies. It cost 300 yen each. So when I was 18, I already had a business going. At first, I used a photocopy machine. More important than style was selling information. But when sales increased, it was difficult to do it by hand. So I took it to a printer. So, end quote. So he's like really going for it. 10,000 magazine copies, handwritten.
Yeah. Wait, is he handwriting every single one of those?
I think he handwrites one.
Yeah.
And then he just copies it himself, like photocopies.
It's like, whoa, that sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah, a lot of photocopying too. If you,
either way.
Yeah, it's so much. So as Game Freak grew, Tajiri began to realize that most games were lacking in quality, and he and Sujimori decided the solution was to make their own games. Tajiri studied the Family Basic computer programming language to better grasp the concepts of Famicom game designs, and he purchased all the necessary hardware to develop a game. So he used that Game Freak money to start himself in a business, okay? Tajiri and Sujimori evolved the magazine into the video game development company Game Freak in 1989. There you go. I was 1 year old.
Turned their magazine into a company.
That's right. They turned it into Game Freak, which, I mean, we all have seen the Game Freak logo that comes up when you start a Pokemon game. Their first game was called Quinty, and it was actually pitched to Namco by both Tajiri and Sujimori, and Namco agreed to publish it.
Oh,
so
nice.
That's how they did it. They went through Namco, which was pretty cool. Quinty was released in Japan on June 27th, 1989. The U.S. version is known as Mendel Palace. So, and it was released on October 12th, 1990. So it came a little... Yeah, it's actually kind of cool. I watched a YouTube video of it. It's the game where you solve puzzles by flipping tiles on the floor. And as you flip the tiles, you push enemies an adjacent tile away from you. And if you push them to the wall, they explode. So it's like you got to solve the puzzle in the room while fighting enemies at the same time. And this was Game Freak's first game, and I watched some YouTube footage. It was great, but it was no Jaybird, so we're moving on. All right. Good? Okay. Another important note is that Tajiri also wrote as a freelance writer for the magazine Famicom Hishoban, later known as Hippon, which I've actually heard of that magazine before. And he reviewed arcade games for Family Computer Magazine and Famicom Shushin? I think that's how you say it. So he's like a really prestigious writer as well. This guy does everything.
Dang, man.
It's kind of nuts.
He's just crushing it. He didn't need to go to college. He had all the skills he needed.
Yeah, right? And that's kind of like going to stop here and just take it for a second, because he's like super successful at everything he does. And if I wrote a fan magazine that sold like 10,000 copies, you wouldn't see me ever again. I would just sell it and I'd be like, this is my thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I just nailed it.
what I'm doing.
All right. And then he goes, well, now that I made this magazine, I guess I could make games better. And then he just starts doing that instead. So it's pretty awesome when you think about it. Tajiri's first conceived the idea of Pokemon. Here we go. We're in it right now. In 1990. The idea came after he saw how Game Boys had the ability to talk to one another via link cable.
Then those Tetris multiplayer games, an F1 race, and that's it. That's all I can think
That's
of.
all you got?
That's all I got for multiplayer Game Boy games.
Pretty soon there's going to be another one on the scene, though.
Yes.
Then he thought of his love of childhood bug collecting and envisioned bugs crawling between the Game Boys. Thus, the idea of trading Pokemon was born. So when he pitched the idea of Pokemon to Nintendo, they didn't quite understand the concept of it. But they were still impressed with Tajiri's game design reputation, because he made Quinty, and they decided to explore it. Shigeru Miyamoto began to mentor Tajiri guiding him during the creation process.
Oh, you know this is going in a good spot.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be
If
great.
Shigeru Miyamoto is like taking you under his wing, you're doing pretty good here.
Yeah, and actually, so Tajiri looked up to Miyamoto so much, and you can tell it because in the original Pokemon anime, Ash is named Satoshi. That's his first name.
Mm-hmm.
And then his rival, well, we know him as Gary, I think, from the games, is Shigeru.
Oh.
So it's like his mentor, but also his rival in the games. I really like that. I thought it was a cool little factoid. So another inspiration for Pokemon was the first RPG to be released on Game Boy, the Final Fantasy Legend. Released in Japan in 1989, it was developed by Square Co. before they became Square Enix.
Love it.
And so this led to a lot of the JRPGs on handheld that we know today. This was like the first one.
Nice.
Isn't that neat?
Yeah.
It's pretty neat. So, Pokemon Red and Blue, or Red and Green, if you're in Japan, they both took 6 years to produce, and they actually nearly bankrupted Game Freak in the process.
Whoa.
Often, there was barely enough money to pay the employees. 5 employees quit, and Tajiri did not take a salary, instead living off of his father's income.
Whoa.
Yeah. His investment from Creatures Inc., which I believe you can see a credit to Creatures Inc. on the opening of Pokemon Red or
it's
Blue.
Nintendo, Game Freak, and Creatures.
Yeah. Allowed Game Freak to complete the games, and in return, Creatures received 1/3 of the franchise rights. Hey, you know what, Creatures Inc., good on you. Way to see something that's going to explode. The music for the game was composed by Junichi Masuda at his home on a Commodore Amiga computer.
Love it.
And what's crazy is, I was in a format called PCM Sample Playback. He had to convert the music from that to the Game Boy format.
Yeah.
And he wrote a program himself to do that.
Wow.
So he was a music composer and a programmer. That's nuts.
That's pretty cool.
People are so smart.
You had to be like a programmer back in the day if you were going to be writing music, because like writing music was practically programming for all these old systems. Yeah. You didn't have there's no Apple Logic to write Game Boy music.
It's so cool. It's crazy to me how this all comes together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and I found an interview and this is actually kind of a sidebar because this is after Pokemon. We're kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but I just want to describe his work ethic real quick. And so this is from a 1999 interview, and after describing his work schedule, because the interviewer says he looks tired in the interview, and this was his quote: "It's the way I work. I sleep 12 hours and then I work 24 hours. I've worked those irregular hours for the past 3 years. It's better to stay up day and night to come up with ideas. I usually get inspiration for game designing by working this schedule." End quote.
Wow.
So he did that. He didn't do that during Pokemon Red and Green, but afterward he did that. So while developing Pokemon, Tajiri helped design 8 other games in chronological order. This is during the 6 years he created Pokemon. He worked on these games too: Smart Ball, Yoshi, Magical Taruto-kun, the Japanese-only release of Mario and Wario, Nonton 2 Isho Kuru Kuru Puzzle. That's one game. All really long title.
Wow.
Pulseman in 1994, and Jelly Boy 2 in 1995.
Oh, Jelly Boy 2. Can't play that one if you haven't played Jelly Boy 1.
That's true. I mean,
The storyline carries.
the narrative, you gotta
you
keep
really
up
gotta
to
start
it.
at the beginning.
So finally, on February 27th, 1996, Nintendo released Pokemon Red and Green in Japan. Fun story, Pokemon Blue was offered in Japan. It was a special collector's edition you could only get by mail to subscribers of the Koro Koro comic on October 15th, 1996. That's when you would get it if you ordered it through them that way. It was later released to general retail, though, on October 10th, 1999.
The blue version in Japan.
In Japan, the blue version, yeah. So 3 years later. At launch, no one cared. No one cared about Pokemon.
No one liked Pokemon when it came
Media
out?
outlets didn't cover it. Everyone believed the Game Boy was a dead console.
Oh, it's pretty late. Like
It was?
1996 is pretty late in Game Boy's life.
Yeah, right? People were like, get out of here. No one cares.
Yeah,
And
Game
they're
Boy Color's coming out soon.
Yeah.
No one wants this black and white garbage.
like, yeah, get out of here. But the lack of interest made Tajiri think that Nintendo would reject Pokemon Red and Green. But sales steadily increased until Nintendo had Pokemon as their top franchise. One of their top franchises.
Wow, it just
It
kept
just
going.
slowly skyrocketed up until it was one of their top franchises. One reason was because of a little Pokemon named Mew.
What's going on with Mew? I mean, I know who Mew is, but why was Mew so...
So Mew was rumored to only be accessed by exploiting a programming error in the game, but Tajiri included Mew on purpose as a way to promote trading between players. Nintendo had no idea that Mew existed. He snuck it past them. So when he
Wow.
released the game, Mew was just a hidden...
How did people get Mew then? Because it was the rumors were you got it by exploiting a programming error.
I think this was the one error in Pokemon Red I always exploited was the 999 Master Balls cheat where you like ride on the shore near Pallet Town. I think it's something like that. I didn't look it up because I didn't even bother.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how including Mew promotes trading between players.
I think it was like an Easter egg. So people got really excited about it. And they're like, oh no, this is actually a real thing. And then I want Mew. I want Mew to be like I can't collect all of them technically unless I get the 152nd Pokemon that no one knew about. Yeah, that was what they meant by it. Yeah.
Okay.
So another interesting concept was that Pokemon didn't die. They still haven't died. You can't kill a Pokemon.
Nope. They never, except for Cubone's mom.
Oh. Everyone, just have a moment of silence for Cubone's mom. Thank you. Okay. They fainted. All Pokemon fainted. And here's Tajiri on his reasoning behind why Pokemon fainted. Quote, I was really careful in making monsters faint rather than die. I think that young people playing games have an abnormal concept of dying. They start to lose and say, I'm dying. It's not right for kids to think about a concept of death that way. They need to treat death with more respect. End quote. I can get it. I think it's a good idea. Yeah. My health reasoning, I thought he did it because how heartbreaking would it be if you got a Squirtle and then it died?
Yeah.
It's just like you're killing pets left and right in your game.
Have you heard the fan theory about your rival who accidentally kills his Pokemon? Because every time you fight him, he's got a Rattata. I think it's Rattata that this theory is about. You're fighting Rattata, and then it evolves. Like later on, you fight his Raticate, and then the next time he talks to you, he's like, "Hey, have you ever had a Pokemon die?" It's like right around when you're in Lavender Town where the Pokemon cemetery is, you know? He's like, have you ever had a Pokemon die? And of course, you're the main character. You don't say anything. But he like asks you that question. And after that, you never see his Raticate again.
Oh, man. Yeah. Heavy stuff.
Yeah.
I never even noticed that.
Yeah. I haven't verified that to see if that's actually true, but I've seen it a lot of places online. So maybe it's just creepypasta.
You know, if it's on the internet, it's probably true.
Yeah, people don't just go on the internet and tell lies.
They don't just make things up.
No.
I mean, otherwise, there's some problems with this research because I did a lot of it looking through the references on Wikipedia. So that's like, because it was funny because like the references, the Time Magazine articles were referenced on Wikipedia, and I looked at them and I'm like, there's so much more interesting stuff in these articles than are in the Wikipedia article. So I just went through those really. Okay. Another interesting concept. Oh, wait, no. I already said that already. Sorry, everyone. Relax. Everything's okay. Oh, so yeah, we're so nervous. Pokemon essentially saved Nintendo.
Really?
Because this was a time when the Game Boy was dying, that there was a very big lull in the company, and it was in between consoles. Now, save them for this year, I think. It's not like...
Yeah, they weren't going to like go under.
Yeah, Nintendo wasn't going to go out of business, but this was going to be a bad fiscal year for them, and Pokemon brought them up. Because... Yeah, it was between Game Boy Color, because Game Boy Color came out in 99, right?
98,
yeah. So 96 to 98, it was kind of a slow time for them. So this Pokemon really kept them going. And I had Pokemon fever.
Same.
You did
Big
too.
time.
Yeah, it was amazing. Pokemon Red, oh, so good. So that game essentially took the country by storm. In the U.S., Pokemon Red and Blue were released on September 28th, 1998. And they sold 9.85 million copies in the United States of that game.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's nuts. Pokemon Yellow was released on September 12th, 1998 in Japan on October 19th, 1999 in the US. And it was just an enhanced version of Pokemon Red and Blue. And the difference is obviously is like Pikachu was your starter and he'd follow you around. And your rival actually had an Eevee instead of picking the opposite of what you did. Also, and I didn't know this at all because I never played Yellow, but the character models were changed to more resemble the anime characters like Jessie and Jane.
Yeah, Jessie and James
Rocket.
are in there. Like Officer Jenny's in there. Nurse Joy.
Nurse Joy's in there.
Yeah.
So I had no idea that was a difference too. I don't know. The one thing I forgot to look up is could you get all 151 in Yellow? You couldn't.
It was about the same as the number of Pokemon you could get in Red or Blue. It was just like a combination of both, but you couldn't get them all in Yellow.
You still had to trade.
You were at a disadvantage with Yellow because you would have to trade with Red and Blue to get all 100.
Oh, yeah. That's rough. That's rough stuff. Okay. So we just did it. We just did Pokemon Red, Green, Blue, Yellow. Okay, we did those colors. Now we're moving on to the second generation. Pokemon Gold and Silver.
This is the golden age of Pokemon, in my opinion.
I mean, I have a thing to say at the end of this about this after reading this, because I never played these. So Gold and Silver introduced players to the Johto region and 100 new Pokemon.
Oh my gosh, so many new Pokemon. I thought they ran out of ideas. They already had 150.
There's a Century Club of Pokemon.
Wow.
So the Johto region was architecturally inspired by Japan's Kansai and Tokai regions, and many of the region's temples and more traditional Japanese aesthetics found their way into Johto.
Oh, now that you mention it, that does make sense. I kind of remember there being there's a Pokemon tower.
Yeah.
That's kind of got some,
Each new Pokemon game has a different geographical area of Japan it's inspired by, and I make sure to mention all of them in this history,
Great.
so don't even worry about it. The starters you choose are Chikorita, Cyndaquil, and Totodile.
I'm Cyndaquil.
Cyndaquil for life?
Cyndaquil main for life.
Fire.
Yep.
You're a fire
I always
guy?
pick the fire starter.
I usually always pick the water starter.
Dang it.
Yeah, I know, right? That's weird. This is a weird thing we just found out about each other. This is a real, this was like the first, this was before like what Harry Potter house you were in was what starter you picked in Pokemon.
Yep.
All right, the legendary Pokemon, Raikou, Entei, and is it Suicune? Suicune? Those were the ones that they're dog Pokemon.
Yeah.
The legendary dogs, right? That's what everyone calls them. I'm really nervous about this because I don't want him to unplug this.
Oh, podcast producer Toby is making some adjustments.
He's trying to lay right on the recorder. Okay. I mean, if he doesn't push the button, we're fine, I guess. To catch them, and I'm also not editing any of Toby's shenanigans out because I think it's endearing.
Great.
So we're going to leave it in, and I'm lazy. So to catch these Pokemon, what I thought was cool, because I never played this, you had to knock some of their health down. They would run away instantly because they always ran away after your first attack. Then you'd have to use your Pokedex to find them again, and their health would never go back up, so you made progress each time. I think that's a really cool way to do it.
The hard part was finding them the first time because if you'd never seen them, your Pokedex can't track them. So you just have to run into them randomly at some point, and then your Pokedex can track them. Also, if I remember correctly, you can't fly to where they are or they move again. You have to walk manually to wherever they are.
Really?
Yeah. And they move after a certain amount of time anyway. So if they're all the way on the other side of the map, it's don't even bother.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
It's rough. Rough stuff. Never played it.
It's great.
New features included Pokemon holding items.
Yeah.
That Quick Claw. You know what I mean? Was that in this game?
Maybe.
I just know the Quick Claw from Pearl, Diamond and Pearl.
There were some evolutions that they had to be holding an item when you traded them. Like the metal coat would get you Steelix or whatever the evolution is for Scyther.
Scyther? Is it Scizor?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Okay. This all had Pokemon breeding.
Yeah.
Big thing about this one, too, it had a day and night cycle because the game had an internal clock, which is really cool, which is a really cool feature. And the two new Pokemon types were Dark and Steel. Now, Steel is important because it's immune to poison, and Dark is important because before this, Psychic ruled the day and really had no weaknesses. So
Psychic is supposedly weak against Bug, but I think in Red and Blue there were no Bug type moves, and also all the Bug Pokemon were garbage.
Yeah, all of them were garbage. You learn that as a kid really quickly when you're playing Pokemon, is you're like, bug catchers. I mean, it's weird that this is your favorite kind of thing in the world, Satoshi.
Because they're terrible.
But they're terrible in the game. So also that's why in Pokemon Red I was Team Alakazam for life. I don't know, but I always had an Alakazam on my Elite 14.
I still always get an Alakazam whenever I can.
So great. Okay, so since the game was released in 1999 for Game Boy Color, it just also looked amazing. Like at the time, its graphics were great. They incorporated every single color the Game Boy Color was capable of rendering.
Yeah, and it also played on original Game Boys too, black and white.
Yeah, that's right. I actually put my Pokemon Red cartridge into my Game Boy Color to play it, and it was like red. It was like a background kind of red thing. So it was like, oh, you got a little bit of color in there. That's neat. Yeah. So by far, though, the craziest thing about Pokemon Gold and Silver is that the entire Kanto region is compressed inside of it.
That still blows my mind.
You know who you can thank for that?
Who can I thank for that?
The late, great Satoru Iwata.
Oh, pour one out.
He was, before he became the CEO of Nintendo, he was the president of HAL Laboratory.
Oh, the guys that make Kirby.
That's right. And Iwata helped the Gold Silver team by developing the tools for compressing the Pokemon graphic code, which allowed them to put the entire Kanto region inside of it.
That's
so
crazy.
He is the guy that did it. So
that set me up for the expectation that every subsequent Pokemon game would have all of the regions from the ones before it.
Me too.
I would be very disappointed.
Yeah, you would be very disappointed, as we're going to find out in the next one. The development cycle for this game was very long. It was still really long. It was 6 years for the first game. This one was 3 years.
Yeah.
The game was scheduled to come out in 1998, but Game Freak was actually working on Pokemon Stadium, and that really slowed them down. And then it was, even though they started working on it right after release of Pokemon Red and Blue, Gold and Silver did not come out for 3 years until 99.
I still remember being so hyped for this game.
Oh, man, dude, I didn't get it. I don't know what I was doing with my life in 1999. I was a space cadet. I'm still mad. We'll get to it later. Junichi Masuda once again single-handedly composed the music on an Amiga computer, and he once again had to convert the music to the format for Game Boy Color. Nice. So he's a true unsung hero of Pokemon. So everyone should know that. I always try to give the music people props. You know?
Unsung music?
Nice. I didn't even mean to do it that time. Pokemon Gold and Silver were released on November 21st, 1999 in Japan, and October 15th, 2000 in the United States, which is almost a year later.
Yeah, this was at a time where the releases between Japan and the US were long, and the only way to get more information was to like hope that like some magazine that you read got like a Japanese copy of the game. Oh, yeah. It was always very exciting to like hear about all the rumored new Pokemon like Pikablue and all that stuff. Pikablue, which would not be called that.
Yeah, that was Minoon and
Meryl.
Oh, Meryl.
Meryl would. Well, that's what people were calling Pikablue, I think. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know, though.
Because it kind of looks like a water Pikachu.
That is true.
Yeah.
I think you're right. It is isn't it say it's a water mouse Pokemon, too?
So, yeah.
And Pikachu's an electric mouse Pokemon, so that makes sense. Okay. So this is considered the gold standard of Pokemon games.
Oh, that's what I said earlier.
Yeah, right? That's what I wrote down in my notes, too.
I didn't even read that.
I know. That's great. We're just on the same wavelength. If only you pick water Pokemon. Okay. So it is also considered one of the best games ever to come out on Game Boy Color. The game sold 1.4 million copies in its first week of its U.S. release.
Dang.
And at the time, it was the fastest selling game ever made.
I got it as soon as I could. I bought a subscription to Nintendo Power that also came with this game. And so it like didn't show up at my house for a couple of weeks because this was before the days of Amazon Prime and you get things in 2 days. It took a couple of weeks to get to my house, and I was so jealous of my little brother because we went to the store the day it came out, and he got gold version immediately, and I had to watch him play gold version for like 2 weeks while I waited for my silver version to come in the mail.
Oh gosh, that sounds like awful.
That's terrible.
Pure torture.
Yep.
Okay, so this game, Pokemon Gold and Silver, combined, because they were combined together in their reviews, got a 10 out of 10 on IGN. So I'm going to use IGN a lot, by the way. I know people don't like it. I use Metacritic later when Metacritic existed because it doesn't exist now. I mean, it doesn't exist back at this time, so I'm using IGN. Craig Harris, who reviewed the game, said, quote, "As awesome as the original Pokemon edition was, Pokemon Gold and Silver blow it away in gameplay elements, features, and goodies. There are so many little additions to the design, it's impossible to list them all." It really is just a full-on improvement.
Yeah.
Everything's great.
Yep.
All right. Now, hey, guess what?
What?
If they make a Gold and Silver, they have to make another one that's like a remastered version, right?
Always a third.
And that one's called Pokemon Crystal. That was the combined edition. It was released in Japan on December 14th, 2000, and North America on July 29th, 2001.
Nice. It's Game Boy Color exclusive, I believe.
Ooh.
Does not play on old-timey Game Boys.
It does not at all?
Nope.
Get out of here, old-timey Game Boys. Pokemon Crystal is important because it is the first game to let you play as a girl. Not the first game ever, the first Pokemon game.
First Pokemon game.
Yeah.
Up until this point, they assumed that their audience was only boys, which is incorrect.
It's completely incorrect. Before that, the only choice was a male character who didn't speak at all. Pokemon Crystal also added the Battle Tower, which allowed players to have a more Pokemon Stadium-style battle with other players. The game came with a mobile adapter GB, a device that allowed for connecting with other players via mobile phone.
I think that was just the Japan.
It was
Japanese
just
version,
Japan.
yeah.
Yep, it was just Japan.
And it was how you got Celebi.
Oh.
Yeah.
I have a small critique about Pokemon.
Yeah.
Especially these early ones. There's a lot of Pokemon you can only get by going to certain events.
Yep.
And it bums me out.
Yep.
I think it's not very inclusive.
That's why they changed their catch line from "Gotta catch 'em all" to something else.
Gotta go to this event. That's what it is. Another thing that happened is for Crystal, animated sprites showed up for the first time. So if Cyndaquil popped out, you threw him out of his Pokeball to battle, little flames would shoot out of his back.
Oh.
You know, like little animated flames. It's kind of cool. And this is pretty much included in every previous every Pokemon game after this.
Yeah.
So this was just the first time it happened. I thought that was a neat factoid. Next in line, Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, Game Boy Advance.
Oh, man.
So we're in the GBA generation now.
Mm-hmm.
Ruby and Sapphire take place in the Hone region. This region is located far from Kanto and Johto regions, and it's which are featured in the previous games. The design of Hone was based on the Japanese island and region Kyushu. However, Hone is rotated. Is it Hoenn?
Hoenn.
Hoenn. I'm saying it wrong. Someone's screaming into their iPod.
It's Hoenn!
They're screaming into their Zune right now. However, Hoenn is rotated 90 degrees relative to Kyushu, as Junichi Masuda felt that it would provide a better gameplay balance.
The music guy?
Did I say that wrong?
No, that's what you have written.
Oh, you know what?
Isn't that the music guy?
That's yeah, that is. It's an improper thing. You know what? It's the director who did it that way.
Somebody made the call.
It was the game's director. I just didn't write his name down, and I feel like a dingus. Okay, right. So like Kyushu, Hoenn possesses many smaller islands, and part of the region is dominated by sea routes, several of which contain areas where the player can dive underwater. What neat, cool, new stuff.
Neato.
You can go underwater. So there are 135 new Pokemon for a total of 386 species of Pokemon. The starters were Trico, Torchic, or Mudkip. I always called them Treco.
I think it's Trico.
It's Trico, though.
Yeah.
I just saying
these ones
wrong.
are dual type, right? Too like Trico's grass psychic, Torchic is like fire flying, and Mudkip is water ground.
I think so.
Yeah.
So the game is your standard plot of 8 gyms in Elite Four. All the games have that, by the way, but they have a subplot, and I'm going to talk about the subplot of each one. So the subplot of Ruby and Sapphire involves 2 rival crime syndicates. In Ruby, the villains are Team Magma, and they want to use the legendary Pokemon Groudon to dry up the oceans. Oh, no.
Oh, that sounds terrible.
And they want to increase the landmass because they hate water. Oh, no. In Sapphire, Team Aqua, love water because they're Team Aqua, and they try to use Groudon's counterpart, Kyogre, and they use that to flood the land masses because they want more ocean.
So these are at odds, these rival crime syndicates.
And they're really obsessed with water or land
yeah,
for some reason.
Respectively.
They're like, we don't need money. We're just trying to flood the land. If you actually get Pokemon Emerald, they involve both syndicates, and you have to use a legendary Pokemon to calm Kyogre and Groudon down.
Is that Rayquaza?
Yes, it is. And I'll get to that later. And I'm really glad you said it because I would have pronounced it wrong. There are a lot of legendary Pokemon in Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald. Legendary Pokemon are Groudon, Kyogre, Regice, Regirock, Registeel, Latias, Latios, Jirachi, which is only available through cheats since it was given out in an event.
Jeez.
Celebi, Deoxys, and Rayquaza. So this time... The game was directed. No, it was
directed by the music guy,
Junichi Masuda. Yeah,
yeah.
So it was I was right. That note was right. So he did make the call that he to rotate the island. As with its past Pokemon games, Ken Sugimori was the art director. Although these were the first games in which he did not single-handedly produce all of the art.
There's a lot of art to produce.
There's so much art to produce. It's also important to note that starting with Ruby and Sapphire, Satoshi Tajiri will be credited as the quote executive director on the rest of the games in the Pokemon Core series. So he is no longer the director. I think it's because he's big boss man now.
Yep.
And he also works on other games. Like, he doesn't just do Pokemon anymore. But, we all know it's still his baby. So, new features include double battles and multi-battles. I was kind of confused by this, so I wrote it down. Double battles are 2 Pokemon, same trainer.
Mm-hmm.
Multi-battles are 4 trainers, 4 Pokemon, 2-on-2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, that's the difference between those types of battles. Natures were introduced. Like, these are innate abilities that affect the strength of Pokemon in battle. However, they affect the stats of the Pokemon rather than directly affecting, like, the strength of the move.
Oh, I
so
remember.
They make your speed go up or something.
Yeah, there are people who, like, if you're trying to get the best of whatever Pokemon, you need to have, like, a specific nature, and then you got to EV and IV train it.
Yeah, I think natures are, like, friendly or, like that. So, conditions are another feature, and those are really only important for the Pokemon contest, which I never did in any of these games.
Me neither.
And these contests are mini games in which participants perform moves before a judge. Both Pokemon and their moves have a condition, which is increased by using Pokeblocks, which are candies made from Pokeberries for delicious Pokemon.
Neato.
Delicious Pokemon. We're not eating Pokemon on the show. We don't condone that at all. Sorry, everyone. All right. Ruby and Sapphire are interesting because they have weather introduced, but big gripe. You ready for it?
Yeah.
No day or night cycle. It's like they added weather and they sacrificed having the time.
Did Emerald have a day and night cycle? I feel like they brought it back for Emerald.
They may. I think, is it down there?
I'm going to Google that real quick.
Yeah, Google that real quick. So even though the game had an internal clock, they did not use it for day or night clock effects. But instead what they used it for, though, the internal clock was used to determine the tides.
Interesting.
Because the game had tides. The game also had berry regrowth mechanics. So you could plant berries, it would grow after a certain amount of time went by. Okay. Secret bases were added as like kind of a one-off feature where players could open up a hole in the world and customize the place with various items picked up in the game. This wasn't a one-off feature. Why did I write that? That's definitely in other Pokemon games. I don't even know what I was doing in editing. But players who linked up with others who set up secret bases were able to battle like an NPC version of that trainer, which I think is pretty cool.
Oh.
So like you'd battle like a ghost version of your friend, within their secret base. So also e-reader support was capable on this game. And if you didn't know what e-reader, they're like battle e-cards, and you could use these cards and they contain trainer battles in which the player could like see previously hidden Pokemon. So like you could use a special one to see like a special Pokemon you couldn't catch yet. So
neato.
Yeah. The special e-reader card called the Eon ticket was also obtained through a mystery gift function, and the ticket allows the player to reach a place called the Southern Island. And there the player faces off either with Latios or Latias, depending on which version you're playing. So Ruby and Sapphire are also able to connect to GameCube games. Ooh, talking about Pokemon Coliseum. I'm talking about Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness. I'm talking about Pokemon Box. In Coliseum and Gale of Darkness, after players reach a certain point in the game, you're allowed to transfer Pokemon between either Coliseum or XD to Ruby or Sapphire. So this was the first time you could like pull stuff from other games, which I know you can do a lot now.
Yeah, you could do some of that in Pokemon Stadium. I think there was a way to get a Mew for your like OG Pokemon in like Pokemon Red. I think you get Mew through Pokemon Stadium. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that was a rumor that I fell for.
You know what? I'm okay with you falling for rumors.
Yeah. I did some research.
You did?
Day and Night Cycle in Emerald.
Look it up.
I don't think there is a day and night cycle.
There is no day and night cycle.
I was incorrect.
It was a big gripe of the game.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so I'm going to get to it in a little bit, so you might hear this again, but it did not get as well received as Gold and Silver. I think because Gold and Silver were just so exceptional that even though this game is good, it was just, they're always comparing it with Gold and Silver.
They came out about the time where I was like too cool for Pokemon. I was like, Pokemon's for little kids. I don't play little kid games, so I skipped this generation.
Yeah, I skipped this generation too. I skipped Gold, Silver, and I pick it up again in Diamond and Pearl.
Yeah, I played Emerald version in like years later in college.
I was actually looking for a version of Pokemon Emerald recently because I have a Game Boy Advance, but it's hard to find Game Boy Advance games because that battery dies inside the cartridges after time, and so a lot of stuff that's like you could be having a pirated copy, so it's like kind of hard to figure out. Okay, another fact about Pokemon Coliseum. If you pre-ordered it, you got the Pokemon Jirachi.
Ooh.
And you could see a preview of the movie Jirachi Wishmaker. Ooh.
Oh, neato.
Movie previews. The Pokemon Box game, it's like, so it's kind of like, they describe it as Microsoft Office for Pokemon. All it really is you use it to store and organize Pokemon on the GameCube.
And it's very expensive now.
It is, and it still exists on DSs. You can use Pokemon Box to transfer Pokemon from one DS Pokemon game to another.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have a friend that actually does that because he plays Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, but he also had, is it Black and White?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they have that on there too. Okay, so that's kind of how Pokemon Box works. I'm sure we're going to get more into that later. Players, you could in the European version of the Pokemon Channel, players could receive a Jirachi at a certain point in the game, which they could then transfer over to Ruby or Sapphire. So it was possible to get it other ways than just having pre-ordered Pokemon Coliseum.
All right.
So other than the day-night cycle, sounds like a bicycle. Other than the day-night cycle, there was another major gripe about the game. And that was, out of the 386 possible Pokemon existing in the Pokemon universe, you could only catch 202 of them in Ruby and Sapphire.
Between them?
Between them.
Wow.
So this goes back to what you were saying about you thought every single Pokemon game would have the old region open up and you can catch all the Pokemon. That's only in Gold and Silver.
Well, and you couldn't trade from Gold and Silver to Ruby and Sapphire. Like between Red and Blue and Gold and Silver, you could trade like Pokemon forward, basically. But so that means there's no way.
There's no way to get them.
Wow.
So people were really upset because your Pokedex isn't complete.
Yeah.
And I said completionists wept everywhere.
Oh.
Yeah, poor completionists. I'm sure they'll be okay. But
Pouring out for the completionists.
It was a pretty big gripe, though. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, it was not okay to a lot of people. So the audio of Ruby and Sapphire consists entirely of game music. All dialogue is on screen. There's no voice acting. There's never been voice acting. No. Yeah. But the music was once again composed by Junichi Masuda. So he is the music guy becomes the director of the game. That's so cool. I don't know why when I was researching I didn't put that together. 2 new people were involved though. Go Ichinose, I think is how you say it.
Sounds
and
right.
Morikazu Aoki. And all the tracks are completely instrumental, but there are 2 tracks with vocals, and those are Trickmaster and Slateport City. I just thought it was cool that they had like vocals because I don't think they've ever had that
What
before.
kind of vocals are they? Like just background
My
singing?
guess is something along like Slateport City. Is that it?
Slateport City and the Trickmaster.
That's probably what it is. We nailed it. We're gonna get sued for copyrights because we nailed that so good. Okay, they had a soundtrack for the game that was released. Also, it actually reached number 297 on the Oricon charts in Japan, and it charted for 1 week. I just thought that was kind of cool. That oh my gosh, the soundtrack was charting. Ruby and Sapphire were released on November 21st, 2002 in Japan and March 19th, 2003 in North America.
So the releases are getting a little closer together now, just a few months apart.
Yeah, a little closer together. They are separate because there's one, actually, it comes later. I'll explain why later. When I get to it, I'll come back to this. So Ruby and Sapphire sold 2.2 million units in North America in 1 month.
Not bad.
In Japan, sales hit 4.4 million within 6 weeks of
Even
release.
better.
Yeah. So again, this is not critically as praised as Gold and Silver, but it still got a 9.5 out of 10 on IGN, and it's like you rarely find a bad Pokemon game.
It's more Pokemon. Like, what do you want?
Yeah, every core series Pokemon game sells well.
Yeah.
And does well. That's why they keep making them.
Because they're all good.
It's true. But Pokemon Emerald, the combination, was released on September 16th, 2004 in Japan and May 1st, 2005 in North America. And Emerald had some new features. Here we go. Also some plot changes. So the subplot was altered. The Team Magma's base on the side of Mount Chimney was added, and it's also where you can catch Groudon.
Mm-hmm.
And then after the Elite Four is defeated, the player may re-battle gym leaders in double battles.
Oh, that's cool.
And they get invited to do those on their Pokénav, which is kind of neat.
Oh, this makes me want to play Emerald.
Right? Double battles were clearly marked in Ruby and Sapphire. In Emerald, 2 separate trainers might unite to battle as a pair to battle you.
Like surprise you with a double battle?
It was actually like an error, I think, on the developer's part, and it doesn't happen in any new iterations of the game. It was just this one. Oh. So I don't know if they did it on purpose or if they did it to like surprise you if it was an error. I couldn't figure out about that. The Battle Frontier is also introduced, and this is a lot like the Battle Tower from Ruby and Sapphire, but they added 6 new areas, and if you completed these areas, players got battle points, which you could use to buy like prizes that you could use in and out of battle.
Cool.
So yeah, I just thought it was kind of cool. They're like kind of really starting to expand on the end game of Pokemon, which is pretty neat. Pokemon Emerald was released on September 16th, 2004 in Japan, and May 1st, 2005. I have the exact same note. I just said that. I copied that exactly. That's so weird. Okay. I already told you the release dates, everyone. Emerald was well received by critics. I'm going off of IGN now because their numbers are pretty steady. I'm just saying it's well received.
They've been around forever.
They're doing great. The game sold well in Japan and North America. It sold 1.4 million copies in Japan in the first year. I couldn't find US totals, but I read that it was the best-selling game in North America for the first half of 2005.
Wow.
So take that as you will.
All right. Hey, Mike.
Hey, what?
What about Pokemon Leaf Green and Fire Red?
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up because I was doing this chronologically and we just hit that point, Tyler.
All right.
If you guys didn't know, Tyler's the world's best co-host. Okay, he's the best.
Dang.
So here is Pokemon Leaf Green and Fire Red. These games are remakes of Red and Blue, except they went back to Green for the American releases on Game Boy Advance.
I had Leaf Green.
You had Leaf Green? Mm-hmm. I never got it. I should have gotten it.
It's really cool.
They did have a few changes, though, so I'm going to list the changes real quick. When continuing a save game, players were shown the last 4 actions they performed, which actually is really helpful if you take a break from the game.
What was I doing?
Yeah, so they can tell you, like, hey, this is what you did. There is a tutorial you can pull up at any time to help you if you're lost. Players may also connect with Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire as well with Pokemon Coliseum, allowing them to obtain over 350 Pokemon.
Seems like maybe they did this whole only catch 202 Pokemon between Ruby and Sapphire thing on purpose so they could sell you Fire Red and Leaf Green.
Maybe?
They are awesome, though.
Yeah, Fire Red and Leaf Green.
Yeah, if you want to play the original Pokemon games, this is the best way to play them because they're remade in the style of Ruby and Sapphire.
Oh.
Super good.
What about Let's Go Eevee or Let's Go Pikachu?
Those are also great, but they're very different games.
Okay. We're going to get to, that's part 3. I can't even go there yet.
Yeah.
Legally, I'm not allowed to.
Yeah.
Fire Red.
Podcast police.
Fire Red and Leaf Green also have the ability to connect to the Game Boy, the Nintendo GameCube, and you can interact with Pokemon Box there. So that's how you communicate trade between Ruby and Sapphire. In Box, the player may organize or view his or her collected Pokemon, and in Coliseum, you can battle with them.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. Fire Red and Leaf Green also were the first games in the series to be compatible with Game Boy Advance's wireless adapter. In fact, it came pre-packaged.
They're pretty much the only games, as far as I remember.
Yeah, this is kind of near the end of the life, right?
Yeah.
Of Game Boy Advance.
Yep.
But yeah, this was now you could, and it actually allowed you to connect with someone wirelessly within a range of 30 to 50 feet if you're in the United States, or 9 to 15 meters if you're literally anywhere else in the world. So you can interact with them and trade and battle and all that jazz. In addition, and I thought this was really cool, and it just kind of shows how cool Japan treated it. Like they could have 30 players at a time may join a special location called a union room, and these were in Japan. And you could trade, battle, or just voice like text chat in this union room. And they actually set these up at Joy Spots in a Japanese retail location. So they were called Joy Spots. Come to the Joy Spot and join the union room, which is pretty cool.
That's cool.
The music in the game was derived from the classic consoles. It was arranged by Go Ichinose, as I mentioned before. He actually composed Sapphire and Ruby, but Masuda and Ichinose decided not to change the music, but they just reused it. And then they put up, they kind of put background voices and sounds in to kind of just amp it up a bit.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So they just kind of recreated Red and Blue in a stronger sound, because now they have the technology to do it with the Game Boy Advance.
That's what those games were, was recreating Red and Blue, just stronger.
Yeah, they're like, we just need to rewrite the music. We're just going to make it a little more lively. So the game was released on January 29, 2004 in Japan and September 7, 2004 in North America. Japan's production had a limited release. Fire Red and Leaf Green sold a combined total of 885,039 copies in its first week in Japan. I think they made 1 million total.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 500,000 of each
I wonder
game.
why they choose to do that.
I don't know. Maybe just to make it so, because Nintendo does that randomly too, though. They did that with older games too. They would just cut production down for some reason. Well over 1 million copies sold of Fire Red and Leaf Green in the U.S. in less than 1 month. So it was not the same way here. Critical reception of the game was good, and it holds an 81% on Metacritic.
We're into Metacritic
We're into Metacritic now. So
what did IGN say?
I have no idea. Do you want to look it up? I mean, I just felt like Metacritic's a good way to tell, I think, because it just aggregates all of them together. Mm-hmm. You know. So are you looking that up right now?
Yes, I am. Pokemon Fire Red version, IGN. I gotta scroll.
You gotta scroll all the way down. All the way to the end of it.
Oh, there's 4 pages on this.
Oh,
review.
man. We're going to it.
The end. We're getting there.
We're doing it.
Amazing.
We got an amazing.
It just has 8 for presentation, 6 for graphics, 7 for sound, 9 for gameplay, 10 for lasting appeal. Oh, 9.0. There it is.
9.0. Got a 9.0.
Nice.
All right, there you go. So we're doing it now, Tyler. We're on our last game.
Our last game of the podcast?
Of this podcast episode.
Okay.
Of this part.
All right.
So we're going to talk about Diamond and Pearl.
Okay.
This game is set in the Sinnoh region, which is an island based off the Japanese island of Hokkaido. And the big difference with Diamond and Pearl is the game has a very northern feel to it. So there's
very snowy and cold.
There's a big snowy mountain in the middle called Mount Coronet, and that divides up the island. And there are also 3 lakes, and the game has very few water routes compared to other Pokemon games. But the reason is because it's an entire underground called the Sinnoh Underground, where you can navigate caves and tunnels and go all over the place.
I never did that. I didn't get very far in this game.
I didn't get very far in this game either. In fact, I quit halfway through.
Oh.
I feel kind of bad about it. I should replay it. But the 3 starters were Turtwig, Chimchar, and Piplup. I picked Piplup. No big deal. The legendaries are Dialga, Palkia, Giratina, Mesprit, Azelf, Uxie, Heatran, I don't even know how to say that. Regigigas.
Regigigas, probably?
Regigigas. I don't know. Cresselia, Fione, Manaphy, Darkrai, Shaman, and Arceus.
Dang, that's a lot of legendaries.
Those are a lot of legendaries. The evil team you face off against is Team Galactic. And if you think they have a plot to steal legendary Pokemon and ruin the world somehow, you're 100% correct.
Yes, guessed right.
That's what they're all about. The new features of Diamond and Pearl are bringing back that day-night cycle. But now there's 5 times a day. There's morning, day, afternoon, evening, and night.
Wow.
All sorts of crazy stuff can happen. You know what I mean? Attack types are different. There were 2 types before. Now there are 3 types. Attacks that make physical contact with the opponent are physical attacks. Attacks that do not make physical contact are special attacks. And moves that do not deal damage are classified as status attacks. And I think this reigns true in Pokemon today.
I think so. They carry that forward.
Because before it was just physical and special.
Yeah.
And there was no status category, which was confusing because you'd think a move would be really cool and then you just make someone's speed go down or whatever. So, does anyone use status attacks?
That's a great question because I feel like I always delete them.
I've never used that. I'd always delete them.
Doesn't do damage? Get it out of here. I think that's the right thing to do in the earlier Pokemon games. I would imagine that in the later ones, they know that people just do that. And so there are probably some pretty good status moves now, but I still won't use them.
Also, I mean, I guess one that makes people makes Pokemon fall asleep is good trying to catch them.
So you got your like poison, paralyzed, sleep, frozen, all those moves. Like even if that's all they do, that's still probably worth it.
Yeah. So Pokemon contests changed.
Oh boy.
Still didn't do them, but they changed. They had 3 stages instead of 1.
There was 3 stages to not do.
There was a visual stage, kind of like your Pokemon was modeling. There was a dance stage, and there was an acting stage.
Wow.
And everything short of a swimsuit competition for your Pokemon, I feel like. All of which to me are a waste of time and I didn't participate in. Boom roasted. Okay. One cool thing they did do was make the game compatible with Game Boy Advance games like Pokemon RPG, Pokemon Ranger, and Pokemon Battle Revolution. So you were able to import Pokemon from those games using the GBA port in the back of your DS. So you use both ports at the same time to import other Pokemon. And they would then go to the PAL Park. And the PAL Park is where you would go to capture those Pokemon. So you would move 6 of them over at a time, and you had to catch all of them again in the PAL Park. It was kind of like your own Safari Zone. And so you could only do 6 at a time, and you could not import any more until you captured all 6 of them. Wow. So don't put a really hard one to capture in there, otherwise you're not going to get it. So Diamond and Pearl were developed fully with the DS in mind. Junichi Masuda at Game Freak developed Diamond and Pearl and said the games would, quote, become a new type of game that offers a number of new forms of play. And if he's talking about Pokemon contests, I don't know how to tell him I don't care. You know? It's rude.
But he added 3 stages, Mike.
Someone spent a lot of time being like, people are going to want to see their Pokemon act and do some serious scenes and drama. And I'm like, no, I don't need that at all. And I don't know how to tell you that. I just want to go beat the Elite Four.
Then Detective Pikachu came out and the acting was great. And you were wrong.
And I was wrong. You know what? That's what they did. They were training for the movie this whole time.
Yep.
He was right, though. Diamond and Pearl did revitalize the Pokemon franchise. I didn't know this. After this release, Toys R Us made a special section that only sold Pokemon merchandise. Obviously not anymore. Rip Toys R Us.
Oh.
But they also had a deal with Burger King and they hand out Pokemon cards with meals. So yeah, this game kind of revitalized it because I guess you could kind of look at it like it was going up at red and green. It went all the way up at gold. It went down a bit. They're still successful. But at Diamond and Pearl, it went back up again, like as popular as gold and silver was. So the game was released on September 2006, September 28, 2006 in Japan, and April 22nd, 2007 in North America. And this is why I think they do staggered releases. You ready? Going back to what we said before. There were glitches in the Japanese version that Nintendo had to patch out after release. And the glitches made it so you would like get stuck or lose your save.
Oh, and you can't update DS games.
No. So what they did is you'd have to take it to a store and they'd fix it for you somehow or give you a new copy. It said you had to go to a retail store and they'd fix it somehow. I didn't see any more details on that.
Wow.
But I imagine if you had between September of 2006 and April 2007, you could fix those problems in your North America release and it wouldn't be a problem. So the game has an 85 on Metacritic, so once again, it's great. No big deal. Everyone high five. Sales-wise, in Japan, just 46 days after release, the game sold a combined 3 million units.
Nice.
In the U.S., pre-orders hit 533,000, and the game sold 1 million copies in 5 days.
Dang, that's a fast. Hotcakes, gangbusters.
Yeah, bananas.
Yeah.
That record would not be beaten until Pokemon Platinum, which is now what we're going to talk about. Pokemon Platinum was released on September 13, 2008 in Japan and March 22nd, 2009 in North America. And it had some new features. It had the Wi-Fi Plaza.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. And that was an area that features several Pokemon species-themed minigames and allowed up to 20 players to be in it. You have 20 players in the plaza. The Versus Recorder let you record battles held in Battle Frontier or on Wi-Fi, which, I mean...
I like playing back and watch
them again. You want to play them
again?
back and watch them again. If you're like, I really did a good job when I beat the Elite Four. I want to watch it now.
Cool.
Like, it's like pre-Twitch, you know? The Battle Frontier, which was introduced in Emerald, is back. Came back again. The GTS system. Now, this, I'm pretty sure, is global trade system.
Mm-hmm.
It lets you trade anonymously with people over the Wi-Fi connection. This came in Platinum, and it's now called Wonder Trade in the new games. And what happens is you send someone a really good Pokemon, and they give you a Pidgey. That's usually how it works.
Yeah,
so
but you could also set up trades, like if you're like you wanted to put up a Pokemon and say, I want to trade this for a thing. Somebody could go through and like look and be like, who's trading today? And be like, I want this thing.
That is true.
They can send you a thing.
It's gotten a lot better in Ultra Moon. Like you can really specify like, I want to trade this, and it'll like ping you and sound somebody.
Oh, that's cool.
It's pretty neat. All right. In Japan, it would notify you on your Wii, which I think is pretty cool.
Oh, make your Wii light up?
Yeah, your Wii would light up
if
a trade commenced. Articuno, Zapdos, Moltres, Regice, Regirock, and Registeel were all added to Platinum. They were not in Pearl or Diamond. Baked goods called Poffins could be made from berries and fed to Pokemon in order to improve certain traits, depending on what kind of Poffin you baked for your Pokemon. You know, you got to do some cooking. Mm-hmm. Okay. They also redesigned the art of Giratina, Shaman, and Rotom, and all of them have new forms. Rotom had 4 new forms.
Wow, that's a lot of forms.
Yeah, so they all made these Pokemon different to obtain, some of them more difficult than others as well in Platinum. But the reason they changed Giratina is because it actually became the focus in the story of Platinum.
Oh.
So the story differences between Platinum and Diamond and Pearl are 2 new characters show up in Platinum. There is Charon, a scientist for Team Galactic, and then there's a detective that's investigating Team Galactic under the codename Looker.
Ooh.
Yeah. So those 2 characters introduced. Giratina is the focus of the plot instead of Dialga and Palkia based on what game you bought. Because if you bought those 2, if you bought Diamond or Pearl, you would have Dialga or Palkia. If you bought Platinum, you got Giratina. Like the other combo games, you can catch both Dialga and Palkia. Whereas in Diamond, you can only catch you can only catch Dialga, and in Pearl, you can only catch Palkia. The game, the player could only catch Giratina and the respective game's legendary in the other ones.
So you had to pick.
You had to pick. Oh no, sorry, I'm getting confused. In Diamond and Pearl, you were forced to.
Right.
In Platinum, you could get all 3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry, that was written poorly on my part. The developers chose to call the game Platinum because of their observations that Diamond has like a meaning of love and Pearl has a meaning of happiness. And they're like, what's better than both those things? Platinum.
Boom.
Boom. Yeah. So they also wanted the story to be different too than Diamond and Pearl because they wanted to make Giratina seem, quote, more fun, more interesting, cooler, end quote. So Giratina was really added to make it just change up the story. All the games really kind of change up the story a little bit. The only remakes that don't are Leaf Green and Fire Red. I think those are still...
Yeah, I think those keep to the same overall
those are the
story.
same ones. Yeah, same overall story. NPCs in Platinum had more cold weather clothing on than they did in Diamond and Pearl. They were
People are playing the game, they're like, this is way too cold. What are you doing wearing t-shirts?
Yeah, why are you on a mountain wearing cargo shorts? So... because they wanted them to match the setting. Pokemon Platinum was released in Japan on September 13, 2008, and North America on March 22nd, 2009. The reception, 84 on Metacritic. One less. One less.
Dang.
Sales-wise, in Japan, Platinum sold more than 1 million copies in only 3 days, making it the fastest-selling game in the region at the time. In the U.S., Platinum sold 805,000 copies from March 22nd to April 4th, so it's a pretty big game.
Yeah.
The game is credited with spiking DS sales worldwide.
Oh, so people bought DSs to play this game.
To play Platinum.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I also realized I kind of missed a part describing the new features of... oh, no, I didn't. They're right there. Never mind. I did it. This is a lot of research, everyone. We just hit the end of it. That's what I'm getting at right now.
Oh, all right.
We just did it. We hit the end of it. I tried to go through it in as quickly as possible, so we weren't all here for the end of time. But so this is my thoughts on this. Just a little closure right now.
Mm-hmm.
I played Pokemon Red and I played Pokemon Pearl. Those were the two I played. I feel like a ding dong because I didn't play Gold or Silver.
Oh, you goofed.
And or Crystal for that matter. And I think that generation, if we're going to take anything from this, is the one that everyone should be playing.
Yeah.
To get the ultimate Pokemon experience. I am planning on buying whatever one of those I can on DS.
Yeah, you should get Heart Gold or Soul Silver.
Yeah, because I just need to get done with Pokemon Ultra Moon and then Fire Emblem Awakening, and then I'm going to do that.
All right.
Because I have so many games on my DS right now that I just have to finish.
Yeah.
Tyler.
Those games are great.
I was going to ask your thoughts on this. Like, what are your favorite Pokemon games in these four? Because did you play Gold or Silver?
I played Silver version. So I played Pokemon Red.
2 weeks for it.
Pokemon Red was my my Gen 1 game. I played Pokemon Silver. I skipped Ruby and Sapphire. I did later play Emerald when I got to college. We had a phase in my dorm room in college. This was circa 2008, 2009, where we all played Pokemon games like all day. Like all of us just playing Pokemon. And so I played Emerald version. Then I played Red and Blue. I played everything again. Then I played a little bit of Pearl. I didn't play Black and White. We can talk about more about those. But Pokemon was huge, especially the originals and Gold and Silver in my day. I made a lot of friends playing Pokemon. I have a lot of like fun memories of sitting like just with my buddies playing Pokemon at like all of our friends' houses and like linking up and battling and just like and there was just like this sort of golden age of video game rumors where the internet still wasn't quite as, I mean, it was definitely a thing, but it like still wasn't quite as like widespread. And there was a lot less fact checking going on. Not that there's a whole lot of like fact checking that happens on the internet now, but there were like rumors of like how you could get Yoshi in Pokemon Red and Blue. And there were always like ridiculous things of like, you need to catch all 150 Pokemon. You need to level every single one of them up to level 100. And then you need to go stand in the spot where you caught Mewtwo and use a Firestone on your Dragonite and you'll get Yoshi. Like no one even tried it because you can't. But we believed it, and I think it's a combination of us just being little kids and being gullible, but also this like sort of Wild West feeling of like we don't know what's in these games and no one really does. So the rumors were like really fun. I remember like just being super excited for Pokemon Silver version. And like I emailed Nintendo and I asked them a bunch of questions about the Pokemon and Pokemon Silver version, and they sent me an email back where they were like really nice, but they're like, we're not going to tell you anything.
They're like, whatever, nerd.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just had so much fun. I want to play Silver version again. I have Soul Silver for the DS that I never finished, but you can go back to Kanto in that one.
Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get Hearth Gold.
Oh,
and then we can trade.
There you go.
We can live our truth together.
That's right.
Sounds perfect.
So anyway, I love Pokemon back in the day. I don't play as much now as I should. Although I did finish Let's Go Pikachu version. Played through the whole thing. That's the latest one that I finished.
Beat the Elite Four?
Yep.
Was it scary?
It was very scary.
But you did it.
But I did it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Dude, so this is obviously probably going to be the longest of the three parts, I'm guessing.
Maybe.
We're over an hour right now.
All right.
But I'm going to do the next 4 generations of games next week. Full disclosure, I've only played one of them, and I'm currently playing it right now. So I got to do a lot more research. If I missed anything that you're like, hey, Mike, you goofed on something, or hey, Mike, you didn't talk about my favorite Pokemon. Why didn't you talk about my favorite Pokemon?
Because we're going to talk about every single Pokemon, right?
Yeah, right. Obviously.
All 700 of them.
Yeah, I want my Pokemon. I want Porygon to get a shout out, and you didn't do it. I'm super mad about it. You can email us at codexhistorypodcast@gmail.com. You can tweet at Tyler at SneakerElf, ELPH. Don't forget that part. You can tweet at me at MeColetta. Or if you just want to be a real sweetie pie, a real wonderful friend of the podcast, you can rate and review us on iTunes or Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to us and leave us a sweet review. And we got a new review. And I just want to read it. We actually got 2 ratings and then 1 review. So thank you, the anonymous person who gave us a rating. I'm assuming Aratel, I hope I said that right, AR'ATEL, Aratel, sounds good to me, wrote, I love eat, 5 stars. Thanks. You guys are just wonderful to listen to, soothing, and you have great chemistry. Oh, thank you. And very respectful to each other and the source material. Thanks for making a nice podcast I can relax to and learn about my hobby, love. Thank you, Aratel.
Thank you.
For writing a review and letting me attempt to pronounce your name correctly. That's one thing we've learned about this is people are like, Mike can't pronounce anything. Hopefully I said that right. You could tweet at me and tell me I said it right, and then I'd feel like I'm going to live forever. So next week, we're going to go into those 4 more generations. But first, Tyler, what you been playing? Hanging out with Mike Edition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Been spending a whole weekend playing Destiny.
Playing Destiny together in the same room like old times.
Yeah.
It feels good.
Having a lot of fun doing that. Really, that's pretty much it. I'm still reading comics. I'm reading the Civil War 2 storyline now in Marvel continuity. So I haven't played a whole lot of video games.
Well, you're missing out the most important part of this weekend, too. You're my League of Legends coach right now.
Oh, yeah.
Tyler's showing me. I didn't even know how to unlock new characters until this weekend.
Showing you how to play some League of Legends.
Yes, I've been playing a little bit of League of Legos while I'm doing it, and it's been really fun. So next week we're going to be away from each other, but we're going to be sad, but we're going to be okay. We're going to make it because I feel like we bamboozled everyone else into thinking we're in the same room every other episode. So
we're not usually.
Yeah. So this is very special to us.
At least not in the past like 6 or 7 months, right?
No, not really. Yeah. Ever since September is when I left.
Yeah.
As we go on. That's how you get sued. I think we're all good with everything. Podcast producer Toby, I think he says we're good. He's giving us the green light while he's falling asleep on the recorder.
Great.
So I think that's it. Thank you so much for listening, and goodbye, everybody.
Bye.